How are you, Jeff?
I am great, Rich. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Are you calling in with the children in your midst right now? Where are you? Where are you calling in from right now?
I sure am, and I'm going and sliding into the room with a lock on the door and with noise canceling foam up against it because I'm trying to be a pro.
No, I appreciate that. Now, it's okay.
Like 4 kids downstairs, and they're playing with all kinds of toys and getting into trouble, and I'm just getting away from the whole thing.
So now
we got a snow day here in Kansas City.
Okay, are they watching Sesame Street? Is that why your tweet from just mere moments ago was Elmo on fire, Jeff, or is something happening that we need to know about?
You know, the assumption was that the world was coming to an end because Bryce Harper was going to sign with the Mets or something. No, actually, I was just on Levitard, and I do a really good Elmo impersonation, and he made me answer baseball questions in my Elmo impersonation, and
wow.
Well, I think people liked it.
Well, Jeff, since I have actually made a career out of being accused by Stu Gatz of stealing good stuff from Dan Levitard's show, I'm going to ask you to tell me the latest on Bryce Harper in Elmo's voice right now, Jeff.
No, I feel like that's their bit now, though. I can't.
No, Jeff. You know how. Look, maybe you don't know how it works in this world just yet, since you are building your resume. Clearly, it is the bit of the person who's asking you at the very moment. Dan Patrick calls it sampling, but feel free to tell me the latest in Bryce Harper in Elmo's voice. Go ahead, Jeff. Go ahead.
Am I really going to do this? Like, are you sure you want to
please
delude your show as much as they did theirs?
Jeff, every single thing I do that is original is being accused by Stu Gatz of being ripped off from him. I don't care. Okay? You might as well just go for it. And Elmo has been on this show. We're showing video right now. Our great Los Angeles Broadcasting Center has a crew has just pulled up Elmo being on our show.
Am I nuking my career in 2 radio hits? Is this what's going on right now?
No, you're enhancing it, Jeff.
Sure.
Jeff, I can't ask you again to do it. Please, give me the latest on Bryce Harper and Elmo's voice, please.
Well, Rich, Bryce Harper doesn't have a contract yet, but it looks like he might be going to the Phillies.
Jeff Passan, everybody. That's fantastic. That is absolutely fantastic.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you know where
Passan's
it really
world.
Started. If you have kids and you have them watching Sesame Street, it's like you're bleary-eyed and you think you can do just ridiculous things. And one day I found out I could do Elmo. And where it's really worked is I will do inappropriate Elmo and just say really awful, untoward things in my Elmo voice.
Well, you're speaking to a guy, Jeff, who's once upon a time big show-stopping finish to a stand-up comedy act was reading the Penthouse Forums letters in Howard Cosell's voice. So I get it. Jeff.
Listen, it's good to know that I have good company.
Absolutely. So So Harper, was this part of the gambit the entire time to wait for Machado to sign before he signs?
No, on the contrary, I think the perception in the industry was that Harper was going to sign and Machado was going to almost draft off of him like a car, and that if Machado wanted to get the $300 million that he desired, it was going to be on the tail of Harper, and clearly that is not the case. Manny Machado and his agent Dan Lozano got the $300 million that he was looking for, guaranteed. And while the White Sox offer was strong, it was 8 years, $250 million, options that could have taken it up to $320 million, escalators that could have put it up to about $340. Like there was really good money there. It was not the guaranteed $300, and that's what Machado wanted. And I understand why. He has been around baseball enough now where he has seen guys' careers fall apart. He has seen plate appearances be manipulated just so options don't vest. And he understands that money on the table right now is better than money that might be earned in the future, and that's why he's going to be a San Diego Padre and not a Chicago White Sox.
And does he have? Did the White Sox not give him the same out after 5 or other bells and whistles that San Diego did? Why do you think that went down?
The out after 5 was absolutely a big deal, and it's a big deal because if things don't go according to plan, Manny Machado still can be a free agent at 31 years old. And I know that 31 is not the same as 26. The Padres are getting presumably what are going to be the 5 best years in those first 5 that Manny Machado is going to have. But it's not like 31-year-olds reaching the market can't go out and get 5 or 6 year deals. I mean, we saw Charlie Blackmon, for example, re-sign with the Colorado Rockies, taking him through age 36. Nolan Arenado is discussing a contract extension that would take him into his mid-30s. Mike Trout, when it happens, is going to be extended probably up until he's 40. If he does choose to stay with the Angels, or if he hits free agency, he can get whatever he wants. So it's not like if you're out at 31, you're not going to get anything, but the likelihood of it just is not the same as when you're 26. And that is what made Manny Machado as attractive as he was to the Padres and the White Sox. And what shocks me is that they got $300 million without the Cubs being in, without the Yankees being in, without the Red Sox being in, without the Dodgers being in, without the Giants being in. Those are the 5 biggest earning teams in baseball. None of them was really in on Machado, and he still got $300 million.
It's the Honda Insider Report, otherwise known as Passan's World. Jeff Passan here on the Rich Eisen Show. So who's more happy about the fact that the San Diego Padres gave the richest contract in the history of American sports of $300 million in Southern California to Manny Machado? Who's more happy? Rob Manfred, with everything being discussed about the suppression of the free agent market, or Mike Trout? Jeff?
I think Nolan Arenado is probably happier than Mike Trout, just because, honestly, Trout's going to get paid, Rich. Like, no matter what. Trout, we may be looking at the best baseball player ever, and it's weird to say that as it's going on, and there needs to be more time. Mike Trout has a legitimate chance to be the best player ever, and he's going to get paid. Nolan Arenado, though, has every reason in the world to hold out for $300 million plus now, because most people in the game think he's a better player than Manny Machado. And all of the issues that vex Machado, whether it's attitude, whether it's hustle, some of the things that put teams off on him, none of that's there with Arenado. The only knock you've got against Arenado is that he plays at Coors Field, and that his splits are pretty considerable. But this is a guy who's been more consistent than Machado. He's just an awesome player, and he's a free agent after this season, and the Rockies want to get a deal done. That's going to be hard. But the Rob Manfred point is an important one. I want to make this abundantly clear. 1 or 2 contracts does not mean that there is not collusion going on in baseball. I do not believe there is evidence to show that there's collusion going on, but let's remember what collusion is. It's not exactly necessarily broadly defined. You can collude against particular segments of the market. And if the collusion case the MLBPA ever brings does come to fruition, it's going to be against older players. And Manny Machado and Bryce Harper are both in their 20s. Now, I have no inside information that a collusion case is going to be brought anytime soon. But I do know that back when the owners were colluding in the 80s, the first case that was brought against them, there wasn't a whole lot of evidence. There wasn't a smoking gun. That was only later found. And so the idea that there can't be a case without a smoking gun just isn't true. But the union knows that it has to tread very carefully because this is such a loaded accusation.
Well, just in terms of being a fan, and I'm a huge fan of the sport, and, you know, I really, when I was at ESPN, I covered baseball. I did baseball games. I cannot get enough of the sport. As a fan, I'd rather see a clock instituted in the offseason rather than during the playing season, because this is ridiculous that here we are with spring training open, and Harper is just the top name of a whole bunch of names of players who have not signed yet. And I'm
like, there's some guys. I mean, Dallas Keuchel's a guy. He's won a Cy Young. Craig Kimbrell's, gotten off to the best start for a closer in baseball history.
So does baseball like it?
Marlon Gonzalez is a dude.
Does baseball like it that free agency and the signing is going to come in a burst right before the season, as opposed to what the NBA and the NFL does, which is spark interest in the sport for a 10-day period in the non-playing season? Jeff?
Here's the reason why I think the NFL is able to do that and the NBA is able to do that, because they're salary cap sports, Rich. And when you have a salary cap, there's a certain level to which a player understands and recognizes his contract can go. And he fits in a particular place in this paradigm that has been well established based on the amount of revenue that is generated in the sport. Baseball has no such thing in place. It doesn't have a ceiling. It doesn't have a floor. And because it doesn't have either of these things, players are valued by the open market. What's happened is that this free market that the MLBPA spent so long fighting for has changed and has shifted. And it's shifted underneath the players' feet like a tectonic plate and has really shaken them, because as salaries are depressed over the first 6, maybe 7 years of your career, Rich, in terms of pre-arbitration salaries, and then even in arbitration, you're not getting paid nearly as much as you would on the market. The expectation has been that once we reach free agency, we're going to get paid. They're going to give us our come up at that point. That's not happening now. And when you're not getting paid on the front end what you think you should, and when you're not getting paid on the back end what you think you should, that's where the cognitive dissonance arrives and where you have players every day tweeting about how the system's broken.
Last one for you, Jeff Passan in the Honda Insider Report. To me, the issue isn't pace of play. I don't care how long it takes, the game. And I don't think my kids do either. I've got 10, 8, and 5 at home. Who, whenever I do radio and podcast hits, I also lock out of the room, just like you've done right now, Jeff. So they don't care about how long a game takes. What I see they care about, what I care about, is how long it takes to have a ball put in play. Not pace of play, quality of play, and the pace of quality of play. To me, the way to fix that is fixing the shift. Why is this so difficult for baseball to wrap their arms around, Jeff?
Well, let me play devil's advocate for a second. What does the shift typically take away, Rich?
What it takes away is a discerning hitter, in my mind, and the ability
that's reasonable.
To get on.
The answer I was going for there was singles, because that is what in actuality it takes away a bunch of singles, and you're not going to the ballpark for singles. But your point is really well made, because left-handed hitters especially now feel they have to lift the ball. They do, because you're going to have a guy in deep right field, and you're going to have a guy on the right-hand side, or the left-hand side, excuse me, if you're looking at the bag itself. You're going to have a guy on the right side of the infield from shortstop or third base, whatever it is. You're going to have 3 guys over there. And to get the ball by those guys, if you're a left-handed pull hitter, you have to lift it. And if you're trying to lift the ball, you are likelier to swing and miss. And if you're likelier to swing and miss, that's one of the reasons that strikeouts have gone up the way that they have. The amount of strikeouts in baseball right now is really troublesome. But I also think, personally, from what I've seen with my kids and with others, that baseball's biggest issue right now is demographic. I think that a generation of fans, whether it is because of how fast the game is going right now or how slow, I guess it's going in a lot of cases, and because there aren't stars in the sport, have a really tough time connecting with baseball. And they look at baseball as a boring sport. And that is the last thing you want to be in the short attention span era in 2019 that we have. You don't want to be boring. And baseball right now, to me, has that issue that is so much more important than any of these other things that they're fighting about.
All right, last one for you. Spring training games begin tomorrow. How do you see the Bryce Harper situation playing it out? And I'd like it in the voice of Grover, please, Jeff.
I wish I had a good Grover voice.
So then, short of that, how do you see the Bryce Harper thing playing out with spring training games starting Thursday?
Somebody yesterday said to me this is going to play out like J.D. Martinez in Boston did last year. The Phillies know that they want Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper recognizes that the Phillies are the best opportunity for him. There's going to be a bit of a staring contest. They're going to haggle, but ultimately the two sides are going to understand that they're the best fit for each other. But while I say that and while I believe that, the Washington Nationals, Rich, are always lurking in the background. And the idea that this player, who they've known since he was 17, 18 years old, is suddenly going to be playing for their division rival that has fortified itself significantly this offseason and could usurp them ultimately over the next 5 years has to be something that's on the minds of the Nationals people as this decision comes down to the end.
And you don't think the rumor about a Giants signing possibility spurs the Dodgers into some form of action?
Nope.
Okay.
I think the Giants are in there as well potentially, but I don't think the Dodgers have any inclination to go long term, and I'm not sure at this point that the Giants do either. Though going short term doesn't make much sense for them because, frankly, over the next couple of years, they're probably not going to be very good.
And there's no famed Boris secret team.
There is. I always believe that there is a mystery team somewhere in there.
Who would that be? Indians, White Sox, Cubs.
Oh my God! The White Sox have been in conversation with him still. I don't know that they're going to go to a place where Scott Boras says he is right now, which is well over $300 million. At the same time, if the market comes back to them, then I know that they really impressed Bryce Harper in his meeting with them. Jim Thome was in that meeting, and Jim Thome is a beloved guy. I'm not going to count the White Sox out. I just don't know they're at the forefront right now. I think it's Phillies or bust, but look, these things can change with one phone call.
All right, go back to your kids, Jeff. Appreciate the time. Always enjoy your work as well. I look forward to the next chat.
Thanks, Rich. Looking forward to it, too. Take care, pal.
You got it. That's Jeff Passan, at Jeff Passan on Twitter in the Honda Insider Report.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.